So, the title of my talk this morning is Attachment, subtitle Letting Go of Rikke. Some of you may know Ajahn Chah's famous quote, which was um, affixed to the refrigerator, written on a magnet at the old Pine Street Sangha building. And the quote goes this way: "For me, this glass is already broken. When I understand that the glass is already broken, every moment with it is precious." So this quote keeps coming back to me, keeps resonating in my thoughts over the last few days since I had to put my precious cat Rikke down. Of course, I knew her life was temporary, just as I know mine is. I knew I would likely outlive her. She was a very old cat when we put her down, 18 and a half years old, which her veterinarian said was roughly the equivalent of a 99-year-old person. And yet, knowing all that doesn't alleviate the ache or the grief. So there's an important distinction here that practice helps us see. Knowing something intellectually and actually experience it in our bodies and our hearts are very different things. Knowing that her life was fleeting, knowing that she was close to the end of her life for a while, didn't reduce the grief. Experience the loss is something else entirely. And I'd say this kind of experiential knowledge comes as we sit with or meditate with our experience and reflect upon it afterwards. What goes on in our meditation isn't something more abstract or intellectual. It's actually experiential. We actually feel it in our bodies and our hearts. So I did allow myself wholehearted engagement with Rikke. I laugh, I chuckle because she sort of became the center of our lives. She was a great cat. Probably people say that about all their pets. So, but I did allow myself wholehearted engagement with her, just as hopefully we do with some of other of life's fleeting beauty, including our own lives and the lives of those we love. Allowing myself to become so attached to Rikke probably made this grief more acute, and yet I don't think I would have chosen otherwise. The sharpness of the grief seems inseparable from the depth of the love. And I'm happy to experience that over time, the grief becomes a tiny bit less acute day by day. So when I would pet her long, wonderfully soft fur, I felt this tactile joy. And it seemed that when she was pet, she felt her own version of joy. I always was curious. I was never sure what her experience was. And that maybe is part of why I love animals so much. They touch into something beyond my usual human concerns and perceptions and ways of experiencing life. Sometimes I wonder what life would be like if my primary way of navigating the world were through my smell rather than sight. And this seems, I mean, it's unfathomable. How could I know? But that sense of mystery, of not fully knowing another being's experience, seems to somewhat deepen the love rather than diminish it. So what I've noticed is that my practice has been sustaining me because somehow beneath the tumultuous waves of grief, there is a sense of equanimity. There is a quiet steadiness. It's not the absence of pain, but instead a capacity to hold it. And this steadiness doesn't erase the sorrow, but it makes room for it. So I also sense that my love for Rikke lives on somehow. When we love, it changes us. Over time, we begin to feel less separate. Our lives intertwine. Our experiences overlap and influence one another in ways we don't really notice until something ends. So this brings me to one of the Buddha's core teachings, the teaching on contact. The Buddha taught that when a sense organ, like the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, or mind, comes in contact with a stimulus, there is feeling. That feeling could be pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. And from feeling craving can arise. But the teaching does not say we should shut down our senses or stop caring. Instead, it invites us to become more aware of this process as it unfolds. When we are aware, something shifts. You can feel pleasure without quite so much clinging, and we can feel pain without being completely undone by it. Ajahn Chah's already broken glass points to this wisdom. When we truly understand impermanence, not as an idea, but as a lived reality, it doesn't make us cold and detached. Rather, the opposite. It makes each moment more precious. So, as we know, today is Christmas Eve Day, a day deeply entwined with attachment in the most human sense of the word. We gather with family and friends, and animals can become full members of our family. We reach out with love and care. People even buy Christmas gifts for their pets. We know on some level that these moments won't last, and yet we show up anyway. Perhaps practice invites us not to eliminate attachment, but to hold it with wisdom, to love fully, while knowing that love includes loss, to open our hearts while remembering that everything we cherish is, in Ajahn Chah's words, already broken. And when we can hold both truths, the love and the impermanence, something very tender and something very human emerges. And it's not about less love, more about a love infused with care, humility, and presence. A love that knows this moment matters precisely because it will be lost. And it will not last. So, goodbye, Rikke. That was my tribute to my dear darling cat. And we will sit with